Earth. It's been a minute since I've talked to you. Quite a bit has happened. I got a puppy. But yesterday, Hanna Gutierrez Reed was convicted. Super found guilty. It took 2 hours. Not even Emily was ready. And I went into it being mad at her. I watched the entire trial. I don't like how she was treated on set. I don't like how rushed she is. I also went into it being a very, very big Alec Baldwin fan, and that has changed everything. I am no longer a huge fan of his. I don't like the way he treats his wife. I don't like that his wife pretends to be Spanish. I don't like his interrogation is him giving an education of the history of film shootings by accident, and I don't like it. I don't like that they expected a person who should have 100% of her focus on one thing to become all of the things. And she was really reckless and irresponsible. She found a mystery box of bullets and shook the box and heard a rattle and didn't shake every little bullet in there. But the whole thing is a series of people scapegoating someone else, and just David Hall needs justice. He got away. He, I think, deserves a lot more punishment than Hanna. I am just so heartbroken for her, both victims' children and family, and the director Souza on stand. It was really compelling. He did not believe he had been shot. He's like, it's impossible. It's never happened on a film set. It's impossible. And finally they show him the bullet. They're like, this is lead. And he's like, oh, I've been shot. And so is my beautiful coworker, and everybody walked off the day before, and it was a shit show. And the trial was hard to watch. The prosecutor was maddening, though she's very, very, very good at her job. Carrie is excellent. But defense lawyer Bowles doesn't know the word objection, and just let Carrie plow over interviews, and it was intense. And by the end of it, I really, really felt for Hanna. And though, in my heart, I wanted her to be guilty from go, or found guilty at least. I might have cried a little bit when the guilty verdict came in. They immediately arrested her. Her parents are obviously very distraught. She carried herself very stoically. And I had to give her props on her beautiful tasting clothes. And people, I guess she went on a date or two with the clerk at the hotel, and I was like, why'd you ghost him? Because and a half, honey. But and then they tried to tack on this fucking cocaine charge that was just dumb. She handed the soup angel. There was a lady who made soup for everybody on set, because they had no budget for food. They had no budget for security. They had no budget for EMTs. They had no budget for armory and props. They had no budget for anything. And so this lady would make soup, and everybody was like, please let her make soup. And so she's like, hey, soup lady, I don't want to be alone. I just accidentally caused the death of someone, which she knew from go. She says it. She knew that she was going down. So she gives this little unidentified baggie of white powder to this lady, and this lady has been in recovery longer than she was using for by decades. She quit doing blow when she was 21, and she's in her 50s, and she's handed what looks like cocaine. And so she's like, zoink, and throws it, the opposite of a zoink. Ingzu. I don't know. But she throws it in the trash immediately. No one ever finds it. It shouldn't have been a charge. It shouldn't have been up there. It was just one more little thing to incriminate Hanna with. And I respect the lady who threw away the unidentified thing of powder. I don't respect the lawyer who said, so that could have been any kind of powder, right? Could have been meth. Oh, that's better. That's just as I was saying in my last video. I miss the days of crackheads. Meth is better. So they didn't give her that charge. So I was really happy about that. But who cares if you're going to prison for like connected murder, like chain of, it's not murder, accidental death. Very, very sad. The whole fucking thing is sad. I'm appalled that they finished this movie, honestly. Alec just doesn't want to let go of this dream, and then so this is where I'm torn. I'm sorry, someone told me I moved too much. One person, I've had one comment and it wasn't nice. So but so like, I love elephants. It's my totem. And when a bunch of ivory is confiscated to get it out of the market, they burn it all. And so part of me hates that, because it's like, now they died for nothing, right? Do you see my connection? I don't know. Anyway, so it's like, okay, so the movie shouldn't be made because someone died on set, but then now there's nothing to show for it. At least she will be honored, like, top to bottom in this film. Her husband was made a producer. I guess that's better, or okay, or something. At least they're getting more closure and respect than I think a lot of people would have in the past. Like, there's that old joke in Blazing Saddles where he said, I killed more people than Cecil B. DeMille. And so, like, people used to die on set, like, a lot. I think Cecil did too. 10 Commandments, and people drowned on both sets. Like, anyway, Hollywood is fucked, which is why after I was going to talk about Hanna, I was going to talk about Jonathan Brandis. So over 20 years ago, I started to write a book because my father passed away when I was very young, and he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And my father was a musician. He was the studio pianist for Caribou Ranch in Nederland, and he worked with Chicago. And Morbid Facts posted something about the lead singer of Chicago making a joke about playing with a gun, and he's like, look, there's not even a clip in it. What do you think I'm going to do? Blow my brains out? And then he proceeded to do that in front of his friends. And my father did something similar 2 years later, only there weren't people there, and I don't think it was an accident. I know it wasn't. My father was a very dramatic man. If nothing else, he was a tortured artist, and I'm at peace with it, but at the same time, I will never be at peace with it, and thus I am obsessed with celebrity death, and especially self-deletion. And so I started to write a book about famous self-delineating people, because you can't use the S word anymore. It's strong. Just as George Carlin said, those vets would have gotten better help if we kept shell shock in the vernacular. I feel like suicide is a very serious word. It's a very serious subject, and we shouldn't have to sugarcoat it to make it more comfortable for fucking YouTube. I'm going to drop so many F-bombs. I'm never going to be monetized as long as I live, because no one's going to watch this anyway. But anyway, I wanted to talk about Jonathan Brandis, because I was very, very upset when he passed away, and he was going to be in my book. I had already written his few pages. He was born April 13th of 1976. And was acting right away. He was advertising shoes locally, and then he became a model, and had little roles. I loved him for being in Ladybugs, because I have always been obsessed with comedians, and that was one of Rodney Dangerfield's last films, and he was really, I mean, it's just as campy, over the top, generic. It's not the greatest comedy, but it was filmed in Denver, and a bunch of my friends are in the background because they all played soccer. It made me wish I liked athletics in the slightest way when I was young, because it was like, oh, they got to be in this movie in the way back. But so I knew it was being made, and they did a scene in this little cafe that I used to hang out in high school, and it was filmed when I was in middle school, though. And Jonathan was like devastatingly handsome. He was like Leonardo DiCaprio level handsome. I don't think he was Leo talented. Leo deserved an Oscar for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and the Basketball Diaries, and The Aviator, and Leo should have gotten about 40 Oscars before he finally got one. Same thing with Randy Newman. And Jonathan was a great comedic actor, which is hard for kids. Like, he was really, really good, but as so many do, they reach beyond teeny Tiger Beat fame, and his career started to lull. And he was supposed to be in Heart's War pretty prominently, and they ended up shaving down his role a lot. And Jonathan ended up hanging himself in the hallway of his apartment. And he was still alive when they found him, and they brought him to the hospital, and he died the next day. And he was and forever will be forever 27. And I've always thought he deserved to be on the same list as every other Forever 27. They all have to be musicians. I disagree. I also think Heath Ledger should be forever 27, but he was 28. But he's forever. And Jonathan, I was so sad, and because I was not far from his age, and I understand. I was trying to do stand-up a lot at the time, and I understand it must have been so hard to be like, you need constant bodyguards because girls are just always screaming for you and grabbing for your clothes, and it's dangerous to be around the crazy girls with you. And then you go from no one knows your name and no one cares. And he didn't wait, and he didn't. 20s are rough, man. Like everything seems so important and final, and so I've also thought a lot about like technique. That was what my book was going to be about when I was 20, was 25. The technique you choose to take your life says a lot about your intent. For instance, women very, 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 very rarely shoot themselves. Pew pew. So, I'm so tired of this new word shit. So women rarely shoot themselves, except for porn stars. A lot. In fact, there was a porn star that shot herself recently. I'll pretend like I don't know any porn stars and I don't know her name. But there was another one. The voice of Cartman's mom used a shotgun, and that is, boy, do you mean it when you are doing that. You have to plan that out. I have a theory about her too. Trey and Matt had been nominated for an Oscar for the Bigger, Longer, Uncut movie, and she had a large vocal part in it. She had a major part of the medley, and they needed to perform it at the Oscars. And I know for a fact that that actress did cartoon work because she had debilitating stage fright. And so she died a few weeks before the Oscars. And Robin Williams ended up taking her place, and that's always been, I can't think of a bigger honor, right? So obviously I think about this kind of stuff more than the average idiot, because I have to work through my own bullshit. My father passed away in 1980, so it's not fresh at all, but I still have a deep connection. Suicide's harder than any other death because you can't blame a car accident or cancer or all of that other shit. You can only get mad at the person. And my example is when Hunter Thompson died. Rolling Stone, rightfully so, put out a magnificent magazine that was written by people who worked and adored him. And they all said, oh, he went out with a blaze of glory, and that's the way he should go out. And, Hunter was such a maverick or whatever. I can't believe I'm getting a call because this is going so well.